How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Diabetes Survival Guide Show. Today, I am joined by the lovely, the wonderful Rosa. So, Rosa and I, we have this awesome connection, but also a little bit sad at the same time where we've had family members who've had type 2 diabetes and prediabetes. And instead of thinking that it wasn't curable, we decided, what if we can enter professions that can change that dialogue, that can allow us to break that generational curse and prove to other people that diabetes doesn't define you. Instead, the basic tips, the basic understandings of mastering those fundamentals, that can allow one to end their diabetes, reverse it, and break that generational curse and inspire other people to do so as well. And Rosa, she is also a huge food lover. So we have that in common. And I'm sure other people here are excited to hear about her journey as being a registered dietitian, a certified diabetes care and education specialist, and living it up in sunny California. So without further ado, it is my absolute pleasure and honor to have Rosa here. Please introduce yourself for the stuff that I haven't talked about and explain more about what you do.
Yes, thank you. Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited. And yes, thank you. Oh, that's wonderful. The things that you said about me. Thank you so much. Again, I'm so excited. Yeah, my name is Rosa. I'm a registered dietitian nutritionist. Yes, I'm here in Southern California, Los Angeles County, and I've been in practice for more than 6 years now. I am very passionate about teaching and providing quality services, especially with nutrition. Have always been my passion. I hold a master's in science from the University of Southern California, USC, and I've been working in the healthcare system, like I said, for the past 6 years, mainly outpatient, seeing from babies all the way to seniors and majority and a lot of other diseases as well, like IBS, things like that. But my passion has always been the management of prediabetes and type 2 diabetes. Why? Like you mentioned, yes, because of the unfortunate long history, family history of type 2 diabetes coming from my great grandparents and the whole family. So I've seen it in person, I've seen the struggles, I understand. And yeah, it's one of my passions.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for sharing.
you're welcome.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, so what would you say inspired you to work with people with type 2 diabetes, and how did you hear about the dietitian field?
When I was in school, I went in first for teaching because I come
Oh,
from a
okay.
long family of like teachers. Actually, my brother's a teacher. So that was the first thing. Okay, I'm gonna do teaching, and then I took a class in nutrition. Where I also, since I was little, I was always interested looking into the food and always being a foodie. I took one class on intro nutrition, and that was it. I
Mm.
fell in love with it. Then I took all the chemistry and biochemistry, and then all of that, my bachelor's degree. Then I went into master's, so that's what it got me. Just that one class.
Oh, and that
Yeah,
started the
yeah.
fire for you to
hmm
go all the way through. That's amazing.
Yes, yeah. So that was what like the first thing. Like, oh, I want to know more, and yeah.
Okay. I'm curious now, what does your brother teach?
He teaches the Spanish in high school.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So completely opposite.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So, Rosa, what would you say has been your best success story with a client?
I'm very grateful that I can say that I have a lot, not a, quite a few, but with my past experience, one that touches the most, and this one is when working with the Latino community.
Mhm.
I have experience with all backgrounds. I love working with all backgrounds. I love working with all cultures, but definitely my heart is in the Latino community. Every time I see one of our members, one of my community clients coming to me and just learning that yes, they can eat our full cultural foods. So
Hmm.
I think that's one of my best success stories, that I'm able to debunk a lot of those myths, that I'm able to tell them, yes, you can enjoy, you can go ahead and enjoy beans. You can enjoy our cultural foods. Yes, you can eat rice and beans together. You don't have to separate them. You don't have to forget about our food. And we don't have to healthify our food. It's just knowing how your body, your blood sugars are reacting to that food, that portion that fits you. I know I teach them about carb counting and things like that, but at the end of the day, diabetes management is not one fits all. It's not a cookie cutter. So it's providing what works for them. And that's what is being like so helpful. And I'm able to see their faces like, oh, I can. Yes, you can.
Hmm.
And yes, you can enjoy all of that. So I think that's one of my most successful stories, when I see that and in their faces that they feel represented. Yeah.
Hmm. So working with the fellow Latina community and
Yeah.
being able to educate them saying, hey, those rice and beans, they're not bad foods. Those don't exist. Instead, it's
Yeah.
foods that you can enjoy once you learn how the food reacts with your body. And
Hmm.
all those nutrients are essential. It's just a matter of how can we balance out those other things.
Yes, definitely. So I think that's one of my most important ones. I really like doing that, and I see their faces, and I'm able to explain them, and yeah, that they can just pair. How are we gonna pair this? When are we gonna eat it? And things like that. It's very helpful for them and for me.
Awesome. Thank you so much for
Yeah,
sharing that.
you're welcome.
I'm sure you've probably had this experience. So, how do you go about breaking the false belief that sweets are bad for people? So, how would you go about breaking their disordered eating habits or any of their old mindsets about, I can't have this food, but then afterwards they break by binge eating the food that they wanted to have and then feeling really guilty about it and having that repeated cycle where their blood sugars aren't great, their emotional health isn't great, and they keep on thinking that they did something wrong, to shifting to that positive mindset of, no, I can have the foods that I want. I just need to learn how to prep it with other foods with different nutritional values to feel good about it and actually enjoy those sweet treats that they want to have.
Yeah, because I remember many years ago, I remember everyone was like low sugar free foods and everything, especially all that I remember. I was really young. I remember a lot of commercials like everything has to be sugar free and in cater for diabetes, like the Atkins diet, everything low carb, low sugar free. So a lot of people forget to take like used to like, oh, I'm not gonna eat my regular food, or like in the Latino community, pan dulce, things like that. And like you mentioned, once we have that mentality, like I can't have it, I can't have it, that's as humans, we want it more. And once we start like decreasing our intake, or just seeing those foods as a bad food, or like categorizing those foods as like good versus bad, we start to wanting those what we call bad food, because it's the craving. We're not satisfying with the low sugar free. So what I teach them is, yes, you can go ahead and have your pan dulce. Here's how we're going to make those little changes with the pan dulce as an example. So when are we gonna have them? Like especially making sure maybe after your meal, you're a balanced breakfast with protein, with fats, and those macronutrients take longer to digest in our system. So now it's okay. Let's go ahead and have those other carbs, those other sweets. Just working by your own portions, the portions that work for you and for your blood sugars, without having to go and buy the low sugar free substitutes. It's just not satisfying the actual craving.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Making sure that we're satisfied by eating the
Mm-hmm.
actual food because
Mm-hmm.
anyone has not had pan dulce yet. Oh my gosh, it's one of the best.
They're missing out.
Uh, gets my stomach growling every time. uh, and then with that being said, I know you've probably experienced some clients who are very fearful about their blood sugars and they always want it to be perfect. And when they're going through that experimenting phase to figure out, okay, what is the best carb to fiber to protein to fat ratio, and sometimes it goes out of range or a little too low of range. What are some tips and strategies that you usually share with them so that they can get rid of that perfectionist mindset and have more of that growth mindset so they can appreciate this is a learning experience that I'm going to get better with each experience that I have.
Yeah, and it's hard because yes, they get set into a specific number, or their providers, their doctors give them one specific number, and yeah, not always is the same. And every food, once we digest it, our body is gonna react different. So
Hmm.
it's learning, yes, teaching them about the complex carbohydrates, what we actually have in our Latino diet. We don't really have to go, for example, to the brown rice if we just don't like it. We
Hmm.
like white rice. It's completely okay. Let's make sure we're getting fiber from other sources. So it's again like the relearning and portions and when and how, especially with those complex carbs, and how we can pair those carbs, higher fiber with our protein, with our fat. And that's learning. Yeah, maybe some days will be higher than others, but also it's not always diet.
Hmm.
It, it's not always diet. We would love to be just diet, but fortunately, diabetes management implies everything. Physical activity, stress, sleep, so all medications, low not taking enough or taking too many medications. So it's learning like where is little change. And unfortunately, it's not gonna be like just one straight line in that journey. There will be many different routes. It's just learning how and what.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Being able to understand that it's going to be a squiggly line, just like our blood
Mm-hmm.
sugars. It's always going to be a squiggly line. No such thing as a straight
Yeah.
line.
Yeah. Yeah. I tell them that it could be having the perfect diet, but how are stress levels? How's your mental health? Are you getting enough sleep? So that's again making sure you're getting your 7 to 9 hours of recommended sleep. You're also looking for things to help you manage your stress. Let's go and move a little bit. We don't get a chance to get those 30 minutes of exercise that are recommended out there. Let's hit 10, 15 minutes at a time and
Mhm.
track. Yeah.
I really love how you said if we're not able to hit what the recommendations are, to at least do half of it or parts of it. So instead of
Mm-hmm.
30, try 15 instead. Try that smaller amount, count that as a win, and then build up from there.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of like small wins. I think
Oh
those
yeah.
because the small steps that's gonna help us to get to the long-term goals.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm. After all, if we're saying, hey, we want to get to this area, we can't expect, oh, one step and I'm there. No, you have to
Mm-hmm.
take it's if I want to get from where I'm at in Maryland and getting all the way to Rosa, going from Maryland to California and having that expectation that I could just do it in one step forward, that's not going to happen. That's going to be so many miles for me to walk to get to where Rosa is at. That's going to involve
Mm-hmm.
me getting out of my house, driving to the airport, getting into the airport to then fly out, and then getting out of that airport and then walking, getting a Lyft or an Uber to then go over there. It that involves already so many steps. I went walking, I went into a car, and I went flying. Those are three different forms of transportation that it still took me to get to Rosa. And then if I decided to only focus on one thing, so if it's just diet by itself, oh, I'm going to walk all the way from Maryland to California. That's going to be a hard struggle. So if we're only focusing on diet, it's like that situation as well. But if we like
Yeah.
to focus on sleep, physical activity, stress management, so those other forms of transportations to help us get there faster, that is the key ingredient. It's not going to be a
Mm-hmm.
straight line because the airline traffic, like that's going to happen. And being able to know that you're still going to get there, just know, trust the process, right?
Yes. Yeah. Definitely. As I want to tell them, like at the end of the day, that's what life is. A
Hmm.
lot of process,
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot of changes and learning. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So, Rosa, what would you say has been the hardest lesson since starting your journey in being a type 2 diabetes and prediabetes dietitian and specialist and working with your clients? And what did you learn from them?
I think the hardest one is learning that not everyone, not all people wanted to be helped.
Hmm.
I think that's the hardest lesson. I think trying to go above and beyond to help someone, they're just not ready.
Hmm.
So my lesson to me is being like learn to meet them where they are and be understandable and be compassionate. And then just understand, okay, not everyone wants to be helped. Just
Hmm.
putting the information out there. Maybe one day they will come back, and that's what my majority of my page on Instagram is just putting a lot of education. Someone is reading it.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I think that's gonna be my hardest, just to learn that not everyone wants to be helped.
Hmm. And I think the good thing that you say is you're still posting the tips that are out there on your social media page.
Mm-hmm.
So when they are ready to make that change, they have those easy tips to follow to get those easy wins. And then when they are ready to invest into you or invest into other diabetes nutritionists, dietitians, coaches, specialists, that they're ready to start improving their health now. Because it's
Yeah.
hard at times,
Mm-hmm.
but once they make that jump, they'll realize, oh, that was easier than I thought.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I think that's that, and I'm still learning from that too.
Oh,
Yeah.
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 So, Rosa, if you were to share one piece of advice to yourself when you started your business and social media page, and another piece of advice to people of color who were recently diagnosed with diabetes, what would they be?
For myself, my biggest piece of advice right now would be to be patient. And gosh, the imposter syndrome. I think that one. Those two. Be patient and learn and relearn and try to get rid of that imposter syndrome. I think those are my they hit hard. So
Yeah.
that's the biggest advice for myself right now. Just because things just take time, like everything in life. So same thing that I tell others, same thing I try to tell myself. Yes, just be patient. Yeah. And for people of color, my biggest recommendation is always to ask questions
Hmm.
as much as you can. Be vocal. My advice that I always tell a lot of my clients is to know that it's any treatment with a healthcare provider is a shared decision. So always ask those questions.
Hmm.
And as an example, I try to do that with my parents. Like when my mom goes to the doctor, I send her like this long message, like you better tell the doctor this and that, and tell them this and that. So that's one of them. Like just be vocal, definitely. Recently, I had someone tell me that they're very happy to feel represented by a lot of us, a lot of in the and the healthcare system,
Hmm.
either private practice or in or not private practice, that they feel happy to feel represented and seen. And it's
Hmm.
important for providers, for coaches, for dietitians, for nutritionists, is to understand their culture and their food. I
Hmm.
think that's very important because diabetes management, like I said, it's not one size fits all.
Hmm.
It's just to understand. And but again, going back to the previous question, be vocal
Yeah.
as much as you can and ask tons of questions. Oh,
Mhm. Very
that's
great
my main
insights.
one. Yeah.
Asking a lot of
Thank you.
questions, being prepared for those visits, and
Mm-hmm.
being patient with oneself when they want to start any journeys of their own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So my other question for you, it would be if someone's cultural biases, it conflicts with what the healthcare provider is saying. So let's say, for example, someone comes up to you and you're sharing the information that, oh, we can have the dulce, we can have the our white rice, we can have all these different foods, and they're saying, how can I balance those foods while taking these magic supplements to improve my health and reverse my diabetes? And they're not seeing those results quite yet. How do you balance between the line of respecting their culture of this things that they do believe in and then the science and that background with it so that they can be best set up for success instead of thinking downright saying, oh, I don't know about these things. It's better to focus on these other items if they perceive it that way and just trying to deconstruct that to let them know, no, we are on the same side.
It's a little, yeah, it's a learning process. It's
Mhm.
also educating myself and on their culture and definitely ask the questions. I try my best, definitely try my best to ask a lot of questions and to be respectful about the culture, the other people cultures or like other people's ideas and all of that. So if I don't know something, then I try to educate myself on that and
Mhm.
definitely ask respectful questions. So why are you believing on this? Or where you hear this information from? And we see this a lot, unfortunately a lot like people getting information from just like a friend. The neighbor said to take this tea and it's gonna be magic. So just learning, okay, so let's go over that. But what about your intake? So how are you balancing your nutrition? There's not one magic pill. We wish we have a magic pill in life. Just learning and trying to be respectful of everyone's opinion. Yeah.
Great
Think that's
insights.
thank you.
All right, Rosa, thank you so much for joining me for this podcast. And now I want to ask some of the fun questions. So, if you were to uh, pick your ideal meal, so an appetizer, main course, dessert, and beverage of choice, what would that be?
Oh, that's hard. That's really hard. I have a lot of favorite foods, a lot of favorite foods.
Uh-huh.
So my appetizer, you said, uh, I really love nachos, so I think that would be
Nachos.
one.
Okay.
Yes, I really like that. Or sometimes I like oysters, raw oysters.
Oh,
Those are
okay.
my favorite too. And you said my main course, right?
Uh-huh.
Oh, I think that will depend on the restaurant. But let's go back to my Latino heritage. So I will say I really love chilaquiles. Those
Mhm.
are my favorite, or enchiladas. Those are my to go to always. So I will if it's a Mexican restaurant, that will be my go to.
Mhm.
My chilaquiles or enchiladas, like chicken enchiladas.
Mhm.
Those I will go to for. Yeah. And you asked about dessert, right?
Sure. Yep.
So again, let's say I'm still in that Mexican restaurant. I will go for flan. That's my favorite.
Which one?
Flan? I don't know if you
Oh,
heard of
flan.
it.
Delicious.
Yeah, yeah.
Fluffy,
So
little caramel on
yeah,
the top. Delicious.
yeah. So that is but again, I'm a foodie, so you have to depend on the type of restaurant that I'm at. But again, just an example, that would be my main one. And beverage, I always stick to water. But again, let's pretend I'm in that Mexican restaurant, so I'll get agua fresca. Yeah.
Delicious. So with your nachos, are you thinking like salsa or with cheese or a bit of both or more guacamole with your salsa? With your
All of them.
all of them,
All of
so
them.
loaded nachos.
Yeah, it's like a loaded nachos. Let's say I have the chips, I have the cheese, I have the guacamole or pieces of avocado, and yeah, and salsa or jalapenos on them.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Chorizo as well or no?
I prefer either carne asada or chicken.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
We can agree to disagree. No, I'm kidding. I prefer
Now I'm
chorizo on
getting
my
hungry.
nachos, but they're still delicious. Don't
Yes.
stick any in them though. All right. And then Rosa, what is your zombie apocalypse survival plan?
Oh my gosh, this is really hard. I watched majority of the series. What was the name of the series? I forgot not. The
Walking Dead,
Walking Dead.
The Last of
Yes,
Us. There's a bunch of them.
The Walking Dead. I watched a lot of their seasons. I learned a lot. I feel like I want to mimic some of their stuff. So trying to stay together, at least as a family, and have a lot of canned food ready.
Yeah.
That would be I think that's my survival plan. Have a lot of canned food ready and just stick together as much as possible. Yeah.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah.
All right. Rosa, it has been an absolute pleasure chatting with you, and I'm sure my audience is thinking, oh my gosh, Rosa is so amazing.
Thank
And
you.
I could really feel her message. I could really see what she's talking about, and I could really hear all the tips, all the strategies that she uses to be a kind and compassionate person. So, how can people find you?
I'm on Instagram, so you can find me at Rosa.Torres, like my last name, Tores.nutrition.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's my Instagram handle.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rosa, for joining us. And of course, everyone who is listening to this, watching this, or able to join us today, remember, focus on one small thing that you could do today to get that easy win and continually do that consistently. And then add another habit, introduce another habit, and then continually do that consistently until you take a blink of an eye and all of a sudden you are the person that you want to be and maintaining those habits to keep your awesome identity. All
Thank
right.
you. Yes. Yeah.
We'll see y'all next time in the next episode.